we free to create, we free to openly talk and learn from others and implement best practices and put together best practices and share with the other team. So it is a community. I've always been working in the technology industry for more than 20 years. And a lot of times has been in the Latin American region, US, North America, and some part of Europe. So there is a lot of stuff that I learned, right? I learned a lot from the English community, from the North American community. So it's a lot of stuff that we put together. So nowadays I manage a team where pretty much we're focused on selling the security technology, information security technology that is embedded in all of the computers in the majority of the global manufacturers. So I have a small but mighty team based out of Ecuador, Colombia, Houston, Vancouver. So with that, we support the channels. Our go-to-market is through the OEMs and their bars. So having everybody everywhere, it makes it a little difficult, right? You will think it makes it a little difficult. So with the pandemic, everybody's working from home, but guess what? We've been working from home for the last 10 years ourselves, right? So we are a virtual team. So one of the key areas to having this virtual team is to keep everybody together, keep the culture, right? Keep the goals, keep the strategy all together. And more importantly, for me, is keeping the entrepreneur mindset, because that is the way to actually move forward. My region has performed in such a high level. And the last 3 years, we've been over 40% growth. As a matter of fact, we just finished the fiscal year, and my region was the top one. And I had the top sales rep, the top channel guy, and the top sales engineer. So I'm very happy for that. And all of that stuff is based, I will think, first of all, in getting the right resource, the right people. Second of all, to generate, to create altogether the culture that put us in front of any board, right? And when we are in front of the customer, we become that trusted advisor for the customer. But again, I had to stress this part. The culture is very important. That answer your question?
It's a fantastic answer, and it leads us to a great place. You lead teams over such a huge span of mass in some different cultures, different places. And we were talking about culture here and working remote. How does a sales leader ingrain the culture in their reps, even if they don't see them face to face? How do we get them on board with our values and drive like excitement in our mission?
Yeah. Well, in fact, one of the things that we do in our team is we have to have an awesome interview process. The person has to really understand what it's going to be, right? So what it's all about. Also, in the interview process, every single member of the team interviewed the person, but interview the person from the professional and human side. And this is a very important part. We believe that we are human beings, right? We don't have separate lives. We don't have the professional lives, my family life, my personal life. No, we're just a human being that we have different roles. So I had the role of a leader in a sales team. Fine. Someone else has the role of the engineering side and the team, right? So, and then I have the role as a father. I have a role as a brother, right? I have a role in the society. So we keep as a role. So we understand what our role is. And every member of the team interviews this new person and I make them see the importance of the role. And it's not a job description. It is about the job description because we are human beings. So we had to learn how to communicate to each other. We had to, then in the interview process, we talk about that. We talk about the how, even though I might be current in certain region, I'm here to support you in your region. Even though I'm here in this particular role, I'm also here to support you on the other side. So it becomes some sort of a family culture. However, we had to distinguish that we know that every single role is so important. The second part of the whole thing is to, and I stress and I spend a lot of time on that, is talking about the entrepreneurship mindset. So if we're living our own life, right, and I have this role, so I'm the best person to do the best thing for me, right? And therefore, the performance that we have in the daily activities has to be at that level. So we are representing each other and we are representing ourselves in the daily activities, right? So everyone in the team knows that they had to own what they're doing. Nobody else will come and say, hey, you have to push you to tell you exactly what is the step by step, right? So you had to come up with being creative. We're free to create, which is amazing. We're free to openly talk and learn from others and implement best practices and put together best practices and share with the other teams. So it is a community. Our team is just that, a community.
Okay. So we've made our fantastic hire. We've introduced them to this community. Now, what's really incredible about your team, Jorge, is that consistent growth and achievement. That's something that's very difficult to do time and time again. Once we've made that hire, not all sales reps, unfortunately, go on to do the incredible things we sometimes hope them to do. So how do we actually drive forward the achievement, the success, consistently time and time again? Because this is surely a formula, a blueprint you found the answer to a little bit.
Well, like I said, the openness, right? Being able to be an entrepreneur, excuse me, the entrepreneur see himself in a mirror every single day and ask the question, how am I doing? Am I doing right? So one thing that an entrepreneur knows from the beginning is that they don't know everything. So they had to raise their hand and go and talk to people in the community, right? Their fellows in finance and accounting and engineering and whatever it might be, right? So get surrounded by some others. So what happened in our team, we discover the value of each individual and we embrace the value of each individual, right? So someone might be good for cold calling. Someone might be a good business development, a business developer. Some other person is so good at marketing or numbers. So we combine the resources. We don't want one person to become the expert in every single thing. So then we pull these people in front of the customer with the leader on that account and talk with the customer. So remember when I said that we had to become the trusted advisor? You don't become a trusted advisor just to tell a story, just to throw information in front of the customer. You become the trusted advisor because that is in among many things, a connection, an emotional connection with your customer. Emotional where you feel their pain, you're empathic with that person, right? And you know that that person has to listen to 30 other vendors every week or every month, right? So you value their time. So you are there exactly to help the customer. As a matter of fact, there has been moments when we could tell the customer, you know what, I'm not going to be able to resolve the issue. Let me talk to someone and let me make you part of our community, because if you talk to this company or with that company or with this guy, they will resolve the issue. So of course, we are here to make money. We are a company, right? So, but the only way that we could have a sustainable business, being able to renew our business because we are a SaaS company, be able to expand into account is because the customer trusts in what we are doing and what we're saying. So not only with that, we do that with the customer, we also do that with the bars. So the bars are the wander all the time on the streets, talking with customers and so on and so forth. So they had to see us ourselves also as a trusted advisor, someone that they can trust, a loyal, right, in their business, because everyone is here to to do the best they can, right? I don't know anyone that wakes up in the morning and go and do sales and say, you know what, today I'm gonna fail. I wanted to fail today, right? So all of us, we wanted to succeed. So we understand that. So an entrepreneur mindset knows that, recognize that.
This is great. So if we bring together what we're saying here, we have an empathetic approach to leading our team also, but also with the customer. We analyze where people's strengths are, and we deploy those strengths with the customers as areas of expertise.
That's correct. That's correct.
Awesome. So the really interesting thing about this, Jorge, is like, what's the process for analyzing strengths? How do you go about finding this, particularly, let's say, in a younger and newer rep where the strengths are still developing? What's that piece of work?
Well, definitely one thing that we do, we have many methodologies, sales methodology, right? But also internally in the Latin team, we have a couple psychologists that they run some tests on the new people. And even I mean, the whole team already have been going through tests, because one thing that we want is to understand the characteristics of that particular person, right? We want to understand how that person listens, how that person communicates, how that person is able to resolve issues, right? How that person is able to negotiate, how much diplomatic can be that person. And none of those is a good or bad, it's a wrong or good thing, right? We are just wanted to understand who they are. So therefore we could make this machine to be more tight, right? And so therefore, when we are interviewing the people, we also do run some tests to understand the personality, and also to understand that personality, how it fit into this culture, this family culture that we have.
Awesome. So on the theme of fitting into the culture, I'm sure this applies. Churn in sales is obviously very high and tendencies are decreasing. It's a really important thing for sales leaders to think about. How do we apply everything we've said today to the churn issue in sales, and what are some of the main reasons folks churn in sales roles, and what can you as a leader do to circumvent this thing we have in tech sales at the moment?
Well, first of all, we have to understand people. We have to understand people's motivation. I find out that in the sales role, not necessarily a salesperson, and that might look crazy, but not necessarily the salespeople are driven by money. Not necessarily. So I find out that in call centers and contact centers, the people is motivated by so many things. So we need to understand that. We need to understand what's going on in the people. Having a sales methodology is amazing. It's great. So because then you could tie that personality with the methodology. So you could get the best part of both, right? And then recognize that we are human beings. So we have the needs of every other human being in the world. We are part of we are sons, we are a father, a mother, or, we are part of all of this. So we need to understand that. So therefore, we could create this culture that is open, that the people can approach to each other. For me, one of the best things that we have in Absolute is that it's a very flat organization, being able to pick the phone and talk to the CEO with no issue, right? So being able to have always those channels very open, so therefore the people can communicate, and I think it is a key. And also think always on how we could be sustainable. Every single idea, every single project that we do, we have to think that that project has to be there for 10 years, 20 years, 100 years. That we could change it on the time, right? That we could modify, we could make it better, we could close it, whatever. But we have to think in that way, that everything that we do has to be sustainable on time.
Sustainability is a great way to think about your methodologies and your people. An area I wanted to come on to, Jorge, was this idea of data, which is becoming increasingly important in sales teams. So a couple questions. How far do you use data, and do you think data is oppositional, is different or opposite to this idea of an empathetic leadership approach, or can they work together well?
Wow, that is an amazing and great question. Yes, the data is so important. But the question might be, is not if the data is important, it's who analyzes the data, right? So sometimes I ask this question, on a test, who we are testing? We're testing the person that's taking the test, or we're testing the system, right? So the same thing goes here. So data is so important. I mean, being able to understand and discover and analyze everything that goes behind the data is key. It's so important. The part that I like to stress is who is doing the analyzing, who is analyzing the data. That's the key part. You have to have a multi-role team to analyze that data. I'm trying, one of my biggest dreams in life right now is to be able to, through the device, recognize the human behavior, how that person is feeling. Is that person in stress? Is that person have eaten today? Is that person sleeping well? Is that person having a happy life, a happy day, right? What's going on with that person? Because we can help that person, and then therefore they can be doing their best performance. And again, we go back to the word sustainability, right? So if we want to have a sustainable environment, we need to have the data. But again, the important part is who analyzes the data.
It's fantastic. You mentioned, we need multiple positions and people helping us understand the data. So as a sales leader, how do you lean on a sales revenue operations person, if that's who you have, or an analyst? Like, what kinds of relationships do you find useful, and how can they help you best? Really help some of our data-led folks in the.
No, that is key. I mean, I have a one single person on my team that is all day long analyzing data. And we go from what type of customer we're selling, and what industry, what is the buyer persona, what type of product they're buying, what price, what is the season, the regularity of the purchase, how much they're using, what type of functionalities they're using, what use case, and going on, right? So whatever, every single data that we could pull out, as a matter of fact, every single question that we want to have, we have to go back to the data, and it's so important, so key. So therefore, if you want to be successful in sales, you also need to be able to be so dynamic and change rapidly and your strategy. And the only way to do it is with that person analyzing the data, you having the questions, looking to answer those questions on the data, and have that integrated team that all together, then you're saying, hey, you know what? I discovered that this week is different to this week and last year. So something's new. So let's see what is new, and let's change it. Let's be dynamic. So that is pretty much, yeah, no, I love your question.
Awesome, being dynamic, super important. Now, a couple questions to close us off. First of all, why does being a sales leader really do it for you? Like, what makes you really passionate about this overall through everything we've discussed?
Gosh, that's another good question, man. And I don't know. I mean, being able, it might sound romantic, but I always been in technologies all my life. So, and technology has such a big impact in the human, right, on the society. So I think that I've been doing good things to the world through technology, right? From my old times in networking, right? Developing and designing networks, that was so important in the past, through having a fast mainframe, to have an integration system. I mean, I think I'm doing a good thing to the world, to the civilization. So I feel good working in technology. And then being able to give a good message, to resolve an issue to someone, to interview that person and really understand what's the problem of that company, right? So I think I'm doing a good thing. and then motivating people. I think that is also another key part for me, being able to know that I'm being able to do something on that person. I have people that through my career, they bought their first car, they bought their first house, they took the kids to finally to a good school, or retire. I mean, so I think I'm doing great things, being a leader, being in technology, and resolving issues in companies and people.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love that. So it's about the broader world and the impact we can have, and on the individuals we lead. It's a great way of summarizing it.
Right, and don't get me wrong, that is also, I'm making money.
yeah, sure. Okay, if you're in a room full of the best sales leaders ever, what would you ask them?
Oh my. Why do you think you're the best sales leader? Yeah, as simple as that. Yeah.
It's not one I've heard before, actually.